The content you are about to hear may be graphic.
You to watch. The rest of the band were ready to record when Mercury felt able to come into the studio. For an hour or two at a time, May said of Mercury, he just kept saying, "Write me more, write me stuff. I want to just sing this and do it, and when I am gone, you can finish it off." He had no fear, really. Justin Shirley Smith, the assistant engineer for those last sessions, said, "This is hard to explain to people, but it wasn't sad. It was very happy. He was one of the funniest people I ever encountered. He was laughing most of the time with him." Freddie was saying of his illness, "I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to do this."
Think about that song that he did right before he passed. Show Must Go On.
I think that was done a little bit before that.
But the point is that he did it after he got sick. And he did it on purpose so that people would see that he was going to do it anyway. And it didn't matter if he was sick.
In the days of our lives, the last thing he says is, I love you or something. That was his farewell.
On November 22nd, 1991, Mercury called Queen's manager Jim Beach to his Kensington home to prepare a public statement, which was released the following day. Following the enormous conjecture in the press over the last 2 weeks, I wish to confirm that I have been tested HIV positive and have AIDS. I felt it correct to keep this information private to date to protect the privacy of those around me. However, the time has now come for my friends and fans around the world to know the truth, and I hope that everyone will join me, my doctors, and all those worldwide in the fight against this terrible disease. My privacy has always been very special to me, and I am famous for my lack of interviews. Please understand this policy will continue.
On the evening of November 24th, 1991, about 24 hours after issuing the statement, Mercury died at the age of 45. At his home in Kensington, the cause of death was bronchial pneumonia resulting from AIDS, which a lot of AIDS victims.
Oh, you don't die from AIDS. You die from complications of AIDS.
Because it's an autoimmune disorder. You get sick.
And then everything just attacks your body. Mercury's close friend Dave Clark of the Dave Clark Five was at the bedside vigil when he died.
Austin phoned Mercury's parents and sister to break the news, which reached newspapers and television crews in the early hours of November 25th.
Mercury's funeral service was conducted on November 27th, 1991 by a Zoroastrian priest at West London Crematorium, where he is commemorated by a plinth under his birth name.
In attendance at Mercury's service were his family and 35 of his close friends, including Elton John and the members of Queen.
His coffin was carried into the chapel to the sound of "Take My Hand, Precious Lord," and "You've Got a Friend" by Aretha Franklin.
Which is weird because he wasn't very religious by the time he died.
Yeah, I think that was more for his family and friends than anything else.
He didn't really start. He kind of didn't really get into that religion anymore.
Yeah.
In attendance with Mercury's wishes, Mary Austin took possession of the cremated remains and buried them in an undisclosed location. The whereabouts of the ashes were believed to be known only to Austin, who has said that she will never reveal them. Which is messed up that John didn't even know where they are. Jim, I mean.
Mercury bequeathed the vast majority of his wealth, including his home and recording royalties, to Mary Austin, and the remainder to his parents and sister. He left 500 euros to his chef, Joe Finelli, 500 euros to his personal assistant, Peter Freestone, and 100 euros to his driver, Terry Giddings, and 500 euros to Jim Hutton. Austin continues to live at Mercury's former home, Garden Lodge, in Kensington with her family. So he left him €500,000, and that's it. Like, thank you for taking care of me when I die, but I'm going to leave
Thank you for spending
the majority
almost a
of my
century with
shit
me.
to a woman that left me because she found out I liked guys. That's fucked up.
The outer walls of the Garden Lodge in 1 Logan Place became a shrine to Mercury, with mourners paying tribute to covering the walls and graffiti messages.
My head hurts.
Which I would love to do. Go see it. I just want to go to London someday.
3 years after his death, Time Out magazine reported that the wall outside the house has become London's biggest rock and roll shrine. Fans continue to visit to pay their respects, with letters appearing on the walls.
That's pretty much what I said. I guess that was a quote, though. Hutton was involved in a 2000 biography of Mercury, Freddie Mercury: The Untold Story, and also gave an interview for the Times in September 2006 for what would have been Mercury's 60th birthday. God, when I graduated high school, he would have been 61.
I was 25. As the first major rock star to die of AIDS, Mercury's death represented an important event in the history of the disease.
In April 1992, the remaining members of Queen founded the Mercury Phoenix Trust and organized the Freddie Mercury tribute concert for AIDS awareness to celebrate the life and legacy of Mercury and raise money for AIDS research, which took place on April 20th, 1992.
5 days before my 11th birthday. The Mercury Phoenix Trust has since raised millions of pounds for various AIDS charities.
Sorry, guys.
The tribute concert, which took place at London's Wembley Stadium for an audience of 72,000, featured a wide variety of guests, including Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin. Sorry, this is bugging me. Robert Daltrey of The Who, Extreme, Elton John, Metallica, David Bowie, Annie Lennox, Tony Iommi, I hope I'm saying that right, of Black Sabbath, Guns N' Roses, Elizabeth Taylor, George Michael, Def Leppard, Seal, Liza Minnelli, and U2 via satellite.
Elizabeth Taylor spoke of Mercury as an extraordinary rock star who rushed across our cultural landscape like a comet shooting across the sky. That's actually a really good quote.
A really good quote. The concert was broadcast live to 76 countries and had an estimated viewing audience of 1 billion people. Holy shit.
The Freddie for a Day fundraiser on behalf of the Mercury Phoenix Trust takes place every year in London, with supporters of the charity including Monty Python comedian Eric Idle and Mel B of the Spice Girls.
You gotta think, back in
Spice.
Was it 92? Mm-hmm. 1992, not a lot of people even had TVs.
92?
1992. I was 11 years old. We had just gotten our first, real color TV when I was, 10.
That's sad, because color TV was around for a long time before then.
Mercury wrote 10 of the 17 songs on Queen's greatest hits album. Bohemian Rhapsody, 7 Seas of Rye, Killer Queen, I love that song. Somebody to Love, another good song. Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy. We Are the Champions, which was playing the day that I found out about...
We are the champions.
Can I finish?
How rude!
We Are the Champions was literally playing on my CD player when my ex-wife told me that gay marriage was legal across the country. So I thought that was really cool, because Queen's my favorite band. And come on, We Are the Champions? How cool is that?
We are the champions.
Bicycle Race, Don't Stop Me Now, Crazy Little Thing Called Love, and Play the Game. Read the thing. Really wish I had a cigarette.
In 2003, Mercury was posthumously.
Posthumously. The word is posthumously.
Indicated into the Songwriters Hall of Fame with the rest of Queen in his 2005. All 4 band members were awarded an Ivor Novello Award for Outstanding Song Collection from the British Academy of Songwriters, Composers, and Authors.
The most notable aspect of his songwriting involved the wide range of genres that he used, which included, among other styles, rockabilly, progressive rock, heavy metal, gospel, and disco.
I did not know he did disco. Good. As he explained in a 1986 interview, I hate doing the same thing again and again, and I like to see what's happening new in music, film, and theater, and incorporate all of those things.
Compared to many popular songwriters, Mercury also tended to write musically complex material. For example, Bohemian Rhapsody is non-cyclical in structure and comprises dozens of chords. Read the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I said read the thing.
He also wrote 6 songs from Queen 2, which was deal with multiple key changes and complex materials. Crazy Little Thing Called Love, on the other hand, contained only a few chords, although Mercury often wrote very intricate harmonies. He claimed that he could barely read music. I heard he couldn't read music very well.
He went by ear. He wrote most of his songs on the piano and used a wide variety of key signatures. I'm starting to get hungry.
Mercury was noted for his live performances, which were often delivered in stadium audiences around the world. He displayed a highly theatrical style that often evoked a great deal of participation from the crowd. A writer for The Spectator described him as a performer out to tease, shock, and ultimately charm his audience with various extravagant versions of himself. He always wanted to mix.
He was a snake charmer.
He wanted to mix theater with rock and roll. That's what he was.
He was a snake charmer. David Bowie, who performed at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert and recorded the song Under Pressure with Queen, praised Mercury's performance style, saying, "Of all the more theatrical rock performances, Freddie took it further than the rest. He could take it over the edge. And of course, I always admired a man who wears tights. I only saw him in concert once, and as they say, he was definitely a man who could hold an audience in the palm of his hand." Now, there's
Sounds like David Bowie had a little bit of a crush on Freddie.
There's actually a theory that they had a relationship for a little while. But being that they were both pretty flamboyant, they didn't last.
Well, I know that Under Pressure, like, David Bowie had written it, and he's like, "This is what I want to do," and Freddie's like, changed a bunch of it. Like,
Bowie liked it though.
David Bowie sung what he planned to sing, but Freddie's like,
Freddie just sang
"I'm just
what he
going
wanted
to make a bunch of."
He's like, "Fuck off! I'm gonna do what I want."
Like, this would sound better. We're gonna freestyle, and that's the way it started. Queen guitarist Brian May wrote that Mercury could make the last person in the back of the furthest stand in the stadium feel that he was connected.
Aww,
which is why he did the rock. What's it called? My goodness. "We Will Rock You" was to engage the audience.
Mercury's main prop on stage was a broken microphone stand, which, after accidentally snapping off the heavy bass during an early performance, he realized could be used in endless ways. Very short one.
One of Mercury's most notable performances with Queen took place at Live Aid in 1985, which I've seen on YouTube. It's a very good concert.
If you watch the Live Aid concert that Freddie did, and then watch the one that they did in the movie,
with Amy Rhapsody,
it's almost identical.
They even tried to put the soda, the beer glasses, and everything.
Yeah, everything was like
They did a really good job.
It was freaking crazy. Queen's performance at the event has since been voted by a group of music executives as the greatest live performance in the history of rock music. The results were aired on the television program called The World's Greatest Gigs.
Mercury's powerful sustained note during the cappella section came to be known as the note heard around the world.
Oh, that's a cappella. That should have been all one word. In reviewing Live Aid in 2005, one critic wrote, "Those who compile lists of great rock frontmen and award the top spots to Mick Jagger, Robert Plant, etc., are all guilty of a terrible oversight. Freddie has, as evidenced by his Dionysian Live Aid performance," I'm not sure what that word is, was easily the most godlike of them all. I agree.
Over the course of his career, Mercury performed an estimated 700 concerts in countries around the world with Queen. A notable aspect of Queen concerts was the large-scale involvement, he once explained, were the Cecil B. DeMille of rock and roll, always wanting to do things bigger and better.
The band was the first ever to play in South American stadiums, breaking worldwide records for concert attendance in the Morumbi Stadium in Sao Paulo in 1981.
In 1986, Queen who also played behind the Iron Curtain when they performed to a crowd of 80,000 in Budapest, in what was one of the biggest rock concerts ever held in Eastern Europe.
Did you hear my shoulder pop? Mercury's final live performance with Queen took place on August 9th, 1986 at Knebworth Park in England and drew an attendance estimated as high as 160,000, with the British national anthem God Save the Queen playing at the end of the concert. Mercury's final act on stage saw him draped in a robe, holding a golden crown aloft, bidding farewell to the crowd. Did he do the princess wave?
Probably.
Do the princess wave?
As a boy in India, Mercury received a formal piano training up to the age of 9. I don't know why that wasn't over there. But
later on, while living in London, he learned guitar. Much of the music he liked was guitar-oriented.
I usually try to put this in order. For some reason, that's not in order.
His favorite artists at the time were The Who, The Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, David Bowie, and Led Zeppelin.
So that should have been at the beginning.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody.
What the hell?
He is often self-deprecating about his skills on both instruments, and from the early 1980s began to extravagantly using Gus keyboardists. Most notably, he enlisted Fred Mandel, a Canadian musician who also worked for Pink Floyd, Elton John, and Supertramp for his first solo project.
We are our own worst enemy, aren't we?
Our own critic. Our worst critic.
That too. From 1982, Mercury collaborated with Morgan Fisher, performed with Queen in concert during the Hot Space leg. What? And from 1985 onward, Mercury collaborated with Mike Moran in the studio and Spike Edney in concert. Really need to eat something. My tummy's growling.
Mercury played the piano on many of Queen's most popular songs, including Killer Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy, We Are the Champions, Who Are the Champions, Somebody to Love, and Don't Stop Me Now.
Don't stop me now. I really want to compile a list of all the movies that have a Queen song in them. Because I can tell you right now,
recently.
What is Shaun of the Dead has Don't Stop Me Now in it. It's a good one.
but especially recently, because for some reason, the Queen's like done another coming out. Like it's like
He used concert grand pianos and occasionally other keyboard instruments, such as the harpsichord. Interesting. Don't really know what a harpsichord is.
I'll find a picture and we will put it up here. I just like doing
Harpsichord. Right here. Right here.
From 1980 onward, he also made frequent use of a synthesizer in the studio.
Can you talk?
Apparently I'm goofy.
Queen guitarist Brian May claims that Mercury was unimpressed with his own abilities at the piano and used the instrument less over time because he wanted to walk around on stage and entertain the audience.
Of course he did.
Because that's who he was.
Although he wrote many lines for the guitar, Mercury possessed only rudimentary skills on the instruments. Rudimentary.
Yeah.
Songs like "All Grey Battle" and "Crazy Little Thing Called Love" were composed on the guitar. The latter featured Mercury playing a rhythm guitar on stage and in the studio.
As well as his work with Queen, Mercury put out 2 solo albums and several singles. Although his solo work was not as commercially successful as most Queen albums, the 2 off-Queen albums and several of the singles debuted in the top 10 of the UK music charts.
And it's popular belief they did not break up during that period of time.
No, he just did that on his own.
The movie showed them breaking up, but they didn't actually break up. They never broke up. In addition to the 2 solo albums, Mercury released several singles, including his own version of the hit "Great Pretender" by the Platters, which debuted at number 5 in the UK in 1987.
In September 2006, a compilation album featuring Mercury's solo work was released in the UK in honor of what would have been his 60th birthday. The album debuted in the UK top 10. That's it. So that was Freddie Mercury, y'all.
Do you guys like to... Can you talk? Do you guys like to listen to the band Queen? What's your favorite band?
Just so you know, both of us, huge Queen fans.
Like and subscribe. What would you like to see next?